If you could tell me your name,
Yeah.
date of birth, and where you're from.
Okay. Well, I'm a local lad. My name's Dave Barker, and I was born on the 24th of 10, 1959.
In Folkestone.
In Folkestone, yeah. Travelled a lot, different parts of the world, but I've ended up in Folkestone.
Okay. And were you from a sporting family?
Not at all. My dad didn't like water, and it was during my time of teacher training in the mid-20s, when I was mid-20, that all of a sudden someone introduced me into the world of paddle sport. And I started off with K1, K2, which is racing. Most people see that on the Olympics. Really took to it. It was a great opportunity to have an outdoor gym experience. And so I carried on doing K1 for a long, long time. And then someone introduced me to the world of coaching. And it just gripped me because I was training as a teacher by then, and I really enjoyed just coaching, encouraging, and helping others to learn and achieve. So I moved into the coaching realm with British Canoeing, and I've been a coach for 26 years now.
So going back to the start in Folkestone, when you were a child, which primary school did you go to?
Well, I went to a number. Started off at All Souls, moved to Mundella School, and then we ended up at Chereham Primary, and then we moved. And so I ended up coming back to a secondary school. My parents moved back into Folkestone, what was Pent Valley. And then I went to South Kent College and done a 3-year apprenticeship in the building trade.
Okay. And was it about sport? Were you sporty
Yeah,
then?
football, that's what I lived for. It was football, and played it every moment I could, and went up to Old Trafford as much as I could in Manchester, went to a lot of home games out of Kent, and yeah, I just really love football. Oh, and drums. I've been a drummer for years. But when I was introduced to paddle sport, slowly the football gave way to paddle sport because you can't have too many hobbies, and it was like I started to put a lot of effort into paddle sport.
And was your dad keen on sport?
Not at all. Didn't like swimming, had a bad experience at a swimming pool, was chucked in at the deep end, couldn't swim, and it put him off for life. Bad experiences are not great. But there are opportunities to learn from them.
So you did swimming, was that in the background?
Well, I was teacher training. I went and done my bronze medallion because the school I was teaching at also needed to have swimming coaches and to take youngsters to swimming pools from school. A lifeguard was one of the requirements, so I trained as a lifeguard. But it was, and I can't remember whether I was into paddle sport then or it was a lifeguard, then into paddle sport, but it was all pretty close in time.
So that was quite life-changing. That was at college when you discovered paddleboarding.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Or paddle sport.
Paddle sport. Well, paddle sport, you've got 18 different variety of disciplines and loads of different types of craft. Behind me, you've got the bell boats, which some people recognise as dragon boats, but they're great to get people into paddle sport. You can get 10 on a craft. We have a big stand-up board which you can get 10 on. We was using it this afternoon, funny enough, and you can get 10 children or 6 adults on it. So a huge variety of paddle sport and craft I started to learn. Yeah. I guess I specialise in the sea. I love sea paddling, but actually river, probably just like paddle sport full stop, and introducing people to it.
Did you used to get down to the sea much when you were younger?
Yes, yeah, we used to love the sea. A bit of swimming in it and things like that. So yeah, it was about mid-20s I started doing paddle sport. And the oldest person I've coached, we have ergo machines, which are like simulated kayaks, and we often take it to our local sports centre here in Folkestone, and 95 years of age, and he had 2 15-minute sessions on it. Yeah, so that's my oldest person I've coached in paddle sport. Yeah.
So is it while you were away from Folkestone that you got into paddle sport?
Well, it was while I was doing teacher training. So we were up in London, then we moved to Chatham because Chatham was where they had the teacher training. And so this is how Seapoint Canoe Centre got born, because it was around that time as I was doing paddle sport. I'm a Christian, and now I'm also a minister now. I wasn't then. And it was an opportunity for the youth group that we were currently having for another activity for them to do. And because there was nothing in this particular area, but I was constantly on the move with the teacher training. And then we ended up back here, and it was a great opportunity. I just really felt prompted, I guess, by God just to share the joy of paddle sport. And I was a bit reluctant because it was my time out. It was just for me. And to cut a long story short, I ended up saying, okay, and Kent County Council helped us with a garage that leaked like a sieve and 6 broken glass fibre kayaks. And they said, if you can do something with that, off you go. And today, just 30 years in September this month, we've actually had something like over 3,000 come through the door every year, and we've got a coaching team of 17, all qualified British canoe coaching members, a variety of levels of coaching, and yeah, that was history. So now we're actually being interviewed on a pontoon, which is phase 1 of our new build, and we've got a £750,000 new build which will be on the bank, which is to the side of me. So yeah, we're hoping that paddle sport will be here to stay for a lot longer.
So going back again, what subject, when you were teacher training, what was your subject?
Okay, my main subject was craft design technology, and so I studied for that, but games was a second, because by then I'd already qualified as a level 1 paddle sport coach. So games was a second, and then further down the road, when I was working in a school, teaching in a school, RE became another subject that I taught.
Okay. And then you went into building, is that right?
No, I started off in building from school.
Okay.
Then I went into teaching, and after teaching for something like 13, nearly 14 years, I felt right to go into the ministry. So I went back up to London for another 3 years for training to be a minister.
What school were you teaching at?
My last post was Harbour School, which is now Elmsvale School in Dover.
What was the trigger point that actually started it? I mean, what led you to start it?
Okay, the trigger point really was, if you like, I really felt that God wanted me to do something with something which I really enjoyed, but I actually wanted it still for myself. And so I put out a bit of a challenge, really. I said, okay, if you want me to do this, I need a big sign, because I'm very reluctant to do it. Well, within a month of me making that challenge, I guess, my wife was at home and she said, Kent County Council have just phoned, would you phone them back? I wanted it clear because it was my time out. Paddle sport was an opportunity, keep me fit, but time out. And they offered me the Seapoint Canoe Centre that had not happened for a very, very long time. I think it was called something else, actually. It was an old rundown youth centre. And they said, we hear that you're a paddle sport coach, you live in the area, you're also a teacher. Could we give you this garage? And they helped financially with various bits of a kit and equipment and things like that. It used to be an old police station and a small courtroom for this area for minor driving offences, apparently. And we then grew, and they gave us these stables because the police also had horses, and we converted some stables. And then after we'd been there for a number of years, Kent County Council said they were selling, and the developer that brought it off them allowed us to continue to stay for another 5 years. And then with the 106 agreement, which is from a condition that a builder has to have for the local authority, that was ring-fenced as a seed money to actually help us start the new building. So we moved into containers and started to adapt and become nearer to the site, which we will be home for many, many years to come.
How do you attract more trainers? How did you grow?
We often find that people come and get into paddle sport, and then they say, do you know what, because people have invested in us, we would like to come back and invest in others. And that's really, most of our coaches are homegrown. Seapoint Canoe Centre now train a huge number of paddle sport coaches for on behalf of British Canoeing, and some of them choose to stay here, and that's every year.
So it's just grown year on year?
Just grown year on year. Others have moved off. One of our paddle sport coaches that worked here is now working in India, coaching. We've had them go to PGL, working in France and Ardèche. So a lot of the paddle sport coaches have moved on for careers in paddle sport and outdoor ed and other things like that. So we don't want to hang on to people. We want them to flourish and grow and develop, but it's always great to have a cohort of coaches local, so that, you know, the demand is quite massive at the moment, and so we're still looking to train more paddle sport coaches.
So what is the structure then? What is the hierarchy?
Okay.
How do you start?
How you start, you come along and you gain some personal skills, some experience, and then there's some personal performance awards that you go, because everything we do here is linked with British Canoeing. We're one of their coaching centres in the UK, and so we run a vast number of courses that British Canoeing have, and some people just want to paddle for themselves, and that's great. We want folks to be safe on the water, know what to do, and enjoy the environment, and off they go. Bird watching, surfing, journeying, camping, a whole range of things, fishing, off kayaks in the sea. So we introduce people to personal performance awards, and then we sometimes see something in someone, say, would you like to consider maybe coaching others? And some say yes, some say no, and then they go into personal safety awards, and then it's level 1, level 2, that they can work their way up to become paddle sport coaches on sheltered water, rivers, sea. There's lots of different types of water that we paddle on, even swimming pools. They're a great learning environment too.
So, and the organisation, it's what? It's British Canoeing?
Yeah, British Canoeing's our governing body. Seapoint Canoe Centre is now a registered charity, but its governing authority is British Canoeing, so we're inspected by British Canoeing every year. We also do a lot of work with schools, so we're also aligned to Kent Outdoor Ed as well, so we very much involved with them, submitting our risk assessments and policies and insurances and things like that. And then there's another inspection that we have called the Adventure Activity Licensing Authority, and we have those inspections at the moment every 3 years. And so there's a lot of monitoring, there's a lot of keeping paddle sport safe, well run, because if it's safe, it's going to become more enjoyable. And so we have people which help us to make sure that what we do, it's a bit like a school Ofsted. What we deliver here is quality. And we've also got the quality mark and a centre that also does a lot of work with disabled people. And so we've actually got those awards and qualifications to take disabled people introduce them into the world of paddle sport.
Talking about disability group, what do you think they get out of it? Do you think is it confidence?
Well, the group that we have, I've just come off the water with a session, a group with young adults with learning difficulties, a variety of learning difficulties and physical disabilities too. And when they started off in the bell boats. Some didn't want to go on the water, so it took quite a while. Success was buoyancy aid, coming to the water's edge, and if they got onto the bell boat, that's great. And then they would paddle around a little bit. Some would paddle, some would just sit. Today, we don't use the bell boats with that particular group. They're in open boats, they're on stand-up boards, they're on sit-on tops, and they're on boats that go fast, they're on boats that move very, very well. So they use a variety of craft now, and that was the same group that actually struggled, some of them, to get onto the water now. And some of them have actually gained personal awards with British canoeing too. So it's gained confidence, they're encouraging one another. The beauty of paddle sport, it can be an individual sport or it can be a team sport, and everyone's involved. So Seapoint Canoe Centre, we look at everybody, that every session we're all part of the same team, except for some of us have got a bit more experience than others.
Do you remember your first lesson?
I do. I remember the first lesson, and it was in a K1, and it very, very tippy, but there was something about trying to make this boat go in a straight line, which we did. And then I ended up on a lake in North Kent. I think it was called Snodlands, and we were introduced to a variety of craft that was made to go fast and also distance. And so I was introduced into that world. And then I felt that I needed to do some more personal awards. We were very used to the sea and loved paddling on the sea, and so we went in and got some sea awards, but I had to do that with the local army. I wasn't in the army, but it was the only place that was offering courses, so I had to do what the army soldiers were learning and doing, and I had to learn to paddle in shorts and t-shirt because that's what they did, and it was freezing some days. But that was my introduction into other personal awards, not just racing or marathon. So,
what about your first teaching lesson? Do you remember?
I do. I remember it very well. It was like, oh my goodness, and it was on the Medway, the River Medway, and I had a group of 6, and I thought, it's me and them. So that was I remember, and I was quite excited, I was daunted, but it was also, I felt confident enough because others had invested in me. I felt confident enough that I could do this, not just on paper with a qualification, but I could actually do it. And I've enjoyed it ever since. I like seeing people achieve, developing, and then going off doing whatever they feel part of paddle sport is for them.
So how many people do you get coming through now?
On average, I think it's a little more this year in 2019, but the last 3 years we've had over 3,000 each year which have come through the door, and every one of us are volunteers at the centre. We're probably at the stage now where we'll take on some part-time, so we're looking seriously at that with our trustees, taking on some part-time coaches because the demand is ever growing. We don't do mass advertising. We do have a very good website, but actually it's supply on demand, and we want to supply and promise what we can supply rather than overstretch ourselves. So yeah, we're up for growing and developing the next phase really.
And how many were coming through at the beginning? How many?
Oh, I would say the first year was probably mainly our youth group, which was about 35 kids at the time, young teens. And then it just grew. We were introduced to a scout leader, then was introduced to the scout group, and then it just started to grow from there really. Because we've all got other jobs. We've got some of our coaches that have just come into retirement, so they're able to spend a bit more time down here, which is really great and good of them to be able to do that. So we're actually looking what our next phase is regarding development, and the next phase will probably have some more people down here permanently during the week, so schools and other groups can benefit from that.
So on your website you do wildlife safaris and trips?
We do. Yep, we go to France, we do the River Conche, we go to the West Country, do the rivers there, we do the Medway, the Stour. And one of the things which we've done, because two of our paddle sport coaches have teamed up with Romney Marsh Outdoor place, countryside place, and we've started to, because the canal which we operate on as one of our places where we're based is an ancient monument, and it's got a lot of history. So we've also teamed up with Natural England now, and as they are called, and we've offered some tours to talk about the environment, to talk about the wildlife which is teeming down here. Not just fish, but different variety of birds and vegetation and things like that. So we started to do these safaris on our big bell boats, and they've been very, very popular, just touring the canal, looking at different sites, but looking for wildlife as well. We've also done some litter picking to keep the canal the best it can be. We work with a group called Proactive, which is young adults with learning difficulties, and this is their placement every Tuesday. One of the leaders is one of our paddle sport coaches, so they maintain the building for us, they litter pick the area, and then quite often, and not just this group, we will go up on the canal and we will extract litter that's on the canal to keep it a great environment.
What's changed over the last 30 years? What could you put your finger on major changes in the kind of boats you use, way of teaching?
Yeah, we're constantly developing. It's like everything else. This is our British canoeing. In my time, this is our third different coaching structure and 2 different personal performance pathways that people can take. So there's lots of new things to constantly learn. The sport's developing. We have something like 18 disciplines now in paddle sport, with a huge variety of craft. And so the craft has changed massively. When I started, it was glass fibre. Some of our sea kayaks are still glass fibre, but the majority now are polyurethane. And my racing boat that I still use is also glass fibre. And so we still use, for some specialist boats, but the equipment has changed massively. You've now got carbon, where we had wooden blades, it's now carbon blades. So it's leaps and bounds, it's just changed. And I'm sure it will continue. It's a bit like a mobile phone. It's just going to constantly change. And it's exactly the same in the world of paddle sport.
Is there anything you miss?
I miss my wooden Cobras in the winter because they were wood and you kept your hands a bit warmer. But no, I like the lighter boats. The paddle's not so heavy, so it doesn't wear your arms out so much. So yeah, I think paddle sport is trying to make it a sport for everybody, and the craft experience that you can buy cheaper craft or you can buy more expensive craft, and it's exactly the same in any other sport, I guess, or any other part of life, like mobile phones. You can get a not so cheap version and you can get a cheap version, really. Yeah.
What's the cost of entry? Can you get into the sport?
If you come to a place like this, Seapoint Canoe Centre, you don't have to have a penny apart from old trainers, change of clothes, because we have CAGs, we have the buoyancy aids, we have a variety of craft for you to try. A lot of people often say, oh, I'm going to go and buy a kayak, so I want to do X, Y and Z, or a canoe. And we'll often say, well, come and try, have a look. So just sample, see what we've got, see what fits you, see what you like, and then go and make an informed choice, really, and buy something. Because a number of folks come and they don't have paddle sport equipment, but they come and use the centres. And we have a membership here as well, so that people can get discounted courses, and it's their licence to use the canal as well.
How do you relate to the canal? You said it's a historic monument. And what's your relationship with is it English Heritage you want?
Yeah, the Environmental Agency are responsible for the water. Shetbury District Council, or Folkestone Hythe District Council that it's called now, they're responsible for maintaining it for the Environmental Agency, but English Heritage also own because it's a listed ancient monument. And so they have a big say in what happens. When we put the pontoon that we're sitting on now and our new build, they had a massive say in what we can do, what we can't do, because it is an ancient monument. So we've journeyed a lot with the Environmental Agency, Folkestone Hythe Town Council, local people, and English Heritage. That was, yeah.
Okay. Something you said just now about your boats. Do you still race competitively?
Not now, no, but we've had youngsters which have gone into time trials now. Yeah, and we had a young lady that trained for Paralympians with British Canoeing, and we had the privilege. We still got our equipment here. Had the privilege of training her to help her to get to Rio in paddle sport.
In what discipline?
Paddle K1.
K1.
Yeah. With what we've realised that the Paralympians, you normally have two disciplines. So she was also in wheelchair. I think it was volleyball. And they won a bronze, whichever her second discipline was, a sport. They actually won a bronze. Yeah.
So when did you used to race competitively?
No, I mainly never raced competitive. Did time trials, but it was really racing against me, my time, and it was just amazing. I still maintain that paddle sport is the best outdoor gym that you can get, because when you do it properly, the whole body is involved. You know, it's a real workout, and that's really what I did it for, and for touring and for distance. It was a bit like going to the gym. I decided to go on the water and do gym on the water. So that's really what it was like.
So you've talked a bit about the future. Where do you see it? I mean, where do you see it in another 30 years?
And another 30 years, definitely want the build to be done. Another 30 years, I see us using some satellite systems that British Canoe often run. And we're working with another trust at the moment, because Folkestone Harbour is just a few miles away, and they're looking to develop paddle sport. So we don't want to build something that no one else, we want to facilitate others. So we're working on how do we train the next generation of coaches for that particular setup, and actually work in partnership. Schools, do a lot of work in schools, scouts and places like that, youth groups, and to actually train some of their leaders up, so that we create the facility that more and more people can come down and use and be introduced to the world of paddle sport. So if we just stick as we are, it'll be quite narrow. So we're looking at ways of satelliting out, if you like, and just allowing people to grow, whether they're a part of Seapoint or not, just to grow and introduce them to the world of paddle sport. That's really what we're about. And of course we believe that we're paddling with purpose. That's one of our slogans here, just paddling with purpose.
How will you celebrate the 30th?
Well, we've done quite a few things this year, and this is part of it as well. More people hearing our story, more people getting an opportunity to get involved. We've still got another £400,000 to raise for the build. But really, it's just like, I want to just encourage folks, paddle sport is for all. Whether you're a part of an organised setup or not, at least get some training and then enjoy the world of paddle sport, like I have.
You still drumming?
No, I finished 10 years ago. I used to run drum clinics as well, teaching youngsters percussion.
Oh,
yeah.
What sort of music?
Mainly rock. Contemporary rock. I played in a number of Christian bands as well. Done a bit of travelling, toured with different bands on tour and stuff like that. So yeah, excellent. Paddle sport to be on a drum kit.
Yeah. So if you could sum up the last 30 years then.
I think the last 30 years, if you're going to do something like we've done, I think you've got to know, this is what I want to do, this is what I believe is right to do, because there are so many ups and downs and twists and turns and things that you don't think that you're cut out to do. But it's amazing, if you're not cut out to do it, get others that are. So one of the things we've learned is let's work as a team, and I have strengths and others have strengths. When we pull those strengths together, then we can start to do things. You get your disappointments, you get your knocks and stuff like that. But when you believe, this is for other generations, we're investing in other generations, Hence we've got a 99-year lease renewable for the new build. So I will still see something amazing happening here in 100 years time, and I've had a small part to play in it. Yeah.